What's up, everybody? It's Wes the People's Pitmaster back again for another episode of the Smoke Ring Syndicate. It's our weekly barbecue podcast that drops every Wednesday at 5:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We've taken a bit of a hiatus, but we're back in full force this morning. We're staying local here. I've got Hold Your Horses head pitmaster, Cary Chasteen, in the house. Cary, can you hear me?
I can. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. It's we're almost neighbors, just literally a couple miles from one another, and we're 2 years into it before we actually sit down and chat. So, welcome, neighbor. Welcome.
Good to be
So,
here.
hold your horses barbecue, and you're turning into, I mean, kind of a household name in the competition barbecue world. I'm seeing you more and more and more all over the place now. You're getting to all the big stuff, and I mean, I'm sure you've been pounding the sand for quite some time to get to where you are. But let's take it all the way back. And growing up, did you grow up in a barbecue lifestyle, or was it, what got you interested in barbecue? What started the addiction?
Well, we always cooked barbecue at home. Every September, we always did a whole hog for the whole neighborhood. So I grew up shoveling coals in a cinder block pit. So that was where my love for it began. And then as a teenager, I worked at Home Folks Barbecue down on uh, Bucksnort Road and became
Okay.
head pitmaster down there when I was 16. uh, Working down there on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then we made the leap into this competition stuff in 2014, cooking our hometown contest here in Griffin, the Doc Holiday.
Hmm.
And didn't do as well as I wanted, but we weren't dead last and
Yeah.
decided we would practice and get better and went back again the next year and did a little better than we did that the first year.
Hmm.
And I decided right then and there that if I was going to do the competition barbecue, I either had to get better or quit. So I started taking a few classes,
Okay. Okay.
and the road has traveled us through 25 states competing, a lot of miles, and made a lot of friends since.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you grow up, shoveling coals old school in a cinder block pit, and then you transition to doing a commercial barbecue as a commercial pit master. Um, at 16, did you stay there until 2014, or did you have a non-barbecue related gig between then and there, or just
No,
kind of
in 17, started a trucking company and did that for 35 years.
okay?
And so it it enabled me to fuel my passion
Yeah, yeah.
because
So it's
this is not a cheap sport.
not at all. No, it's it's a lot of money every weekend, and I can only imagine, added the travel to all the different states, probably doesn't make it any cheaper. But it's a pretty cool way to see to see the states, I'm sure.
Well, it is. I mean, and just the friendships that you make within barbecue is why we do it because it's not for the financial.
Yeah.
I cooked last year. I cooked 43 contests, cooked in 19 states, and I was gone nearly every week. And some weeks I stayed gone for 2 and 3 weeks at a time. So
Yeah. So the competition barbecue is just kind of a way to keep barbecue in your blood, I guess you could say, and grow yourself a little friend group, and get to see the states. So you've been on the competition trail since you said 16.
Yeah, I really got into it in 16. Uh, you know, 14, 15, and 16, I cooked some GBAs and a couple of FBAs and some MBNs. And then in 17, I started transitioning into KCBS and
Hmm.
still did a lot of GBAs. And I guess since 19, I have mainly done KCBS.
Yeah. Is it just because there's just a higher concentration of contests with the KCBS, or you like their style of judging or cooking, or what's the
Well,
reasoning behind it?
it was easier to attract sponsors with KCBS because it's worldwide,
Okay.
and anything you can do to help diffuse this cost helps. And that was my
Yeah.
main reason for doing that
Yeah.
because
Well,
I've got some great people behind me that have supported me from day one.
yeah. Um, so we're sponsored now, and when you decided, when let me let me reconvene here. Uh, so when you started up in the competition world, you came out as Hold Your Horses Barbecue, or were you cooking under something else? And how did the Hold Your Horses come about?
No, we have always been Hold Your Horses Barbecue. That My wife and I grew up showing horses together. We have
Hmm.
horses now still, and she shows on a national level in AQHA, much like I compete in KCBS.
Hmm.
But that stems back from my great grandmother when we would go to her house on Sundays after church.
Hmm.
She'd be standing in the kitchen in front of the bread box, looking out over her garden, and either making a hoe cake or cornbread, and you'd run through the kitchen wanting to know when dinner would be ready, and she'd tell us to hold your horses. You can't rush perfection. So
Hmm.
that's where the name came from.
Okay. So I kind of figured it was a Hold Your Horses like slow up, but I didn't think, and great grandma in the kitchen and hold your horses, and I can I
Yeah,
can
I
I can
mean,
hear it.
it's an
I can,
old time Southern saying, just hold your horses. And
yeah,
that was, and it's been very different in the barbecue world, smoke names and everything else. And, when it gets called out, it's you.
yeah, oh yeah. It's you have the all the different barbecue plays on barbecue, and Miss Piggy's this and that, or so and so's you know all the different barbecue alliterations and plays on words and all that stuff, and then you've got hold your horses, and yeah, when it comes out, you know it.
And sometimes the announcers have a good time with it at awards too.
Yeah.
We had one that says, we were down in Savannah. He says, everybody just hold your horses a minute. I got to find this 180 pin. And stuff like that. And, it just becomes fun.
Yeah. Hold your horses. And for those that don't know, 180 is what? A
It's a
perfect
perfect
cook.
score in a category.
Yeah. Perfect. Had a perfect cook, or hit the right table, one of the two, or maybe both.
Yeah. And there's a lot of that because I tell you what, this weekend at the Jack, we hit some really wrong tables.
Yeah. Well, it'd be like that sometimes, is what they say.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that's just part of barbecue. I mean, that's the thing.
yeah,
We had a phenomenal cook this weekend up there, and I would take nothing away from this weekend. And if I ever get a chance to go back again, I will jump on it in a heartbeat.
yeah. Is that the first time you've been to the Jack, or you've cooked there a couple of times? Hello, I think he got a phone call. You froze out on me there for a second.
I saw that. Sorry about that.
So, have you cooked at the Jack before, or was this the first time getting to go under hold your horses?
No, I have cooked it before under Hold Your Horses. We did it last year as well. I had had an opportunity several times to go with other teams to help with some of the stuff, but I always refused it because when I went, I wanted to be on my own merits. And so we were lucky enough to go last year. We
Yeah,
were drawn again this year for the state of Kentucky and win again. And I tell you what, it's an amazing experience.
yeah, yeah. It's kind of hollowed ground, and it's a cool it's a cool event for sure. Haven't been on that side of it, but I did the vendor row back in 19, and went out and seen all the people, and I was like, holy cow, this is just
I
absolutely
got a
awesome.
really cool shot Saturday morning of all the
Really.
smoke rising there in the holler, and you could see the hills in the background and the smoke in the foreground. And it was just the coolest shot just sitting there on my tailgate when I was
Yeah,
cooking Saturday morning.
yeah. That's always the best time to get a shot is just in the still of the morning like that.
Hmm.
So we're cooking the Jack. We're cooking in multiple states, and I mean, out of the 52 weeks in a year, you cooked 40 something of them last year. Um, Outside of you just absolutely have lost your mind. What's your the hold your horses goal in cooking all this?
Well, I just enjoy it. Enjoy the camaraderie and everything else that we make with friendships all over the world. Uh, you know, it's an expensive hobby. I think last year I won $74,000, and it cost me about 155,000 to do it. So
Holy cow!
you can't say you're in it for the financial, uh,
Yeah,
but it's like any other hobby or sport. It's expensive, but you do what your passion and what you love to do.
yeah, yeah. That's that's really. I mean, that's mind blowing when you say, "Oh, well, I won, $75,000," and most people don't make that in a year, but you're that's your winnings, and it still costs you money to play in the smoke. That's
Well, when I was running this year, I've only cooked like 18 contests. I've cut way back, and I'm just doing events that I enjoy and stuff like that. But last year, it just it almost got to be like a job by the end of it. It had gotten to be such a grind. You're chasing points and
yeah,
everything else, and you cooked events just to go cook, not that you enjoyed. And I don't ever
hmm
want to do that again.
yeah. So your plan is just kind of just slow down a little bit and have a barbecue retirement, or
Yeah,
um,
yeah. Uh, I haven't decided what my end game's going to be yet, uh, but I'm still enjoying doing this, and I love it. And my biggest passion is I love teaching.
mhm.
And when you see your students go out and win their first GCE, or they get their first 700 or their first 180, to me that's the ultimate,
Yeah,
and I really enjoy that.
yeah. Well, and I mean, when you go out and you put in, as much seat time as you put in last year and over the years, and putting trophies in the garage or putting trophies in the trophy room, that lends itself. I'm sure that lends itself to hosting the barbecue classes. And I mean, you've got you probably got. I've been to your uh, to the I've been to your spot, and I mean, you could turn it into you've got the room to build and have some teaching in your future there, I'm sure.
Well, that that side of it I really enjoy. I just I did a class last January down in Florida, and 2 weeks later, one of the students got his first KCBS RGC, cooked to 700, and a few weeks ago he even got his first win in brisket down there. So I mean, just
Hmm.
stuff like that and it just makes me feel good that you're passing it along,
Yeah,
and I get more out of when they win even now than I do almost as much what I do.
really. It's
Yeah,
just kind of like
it's
it's
that
almost
satisfying.
yeah. It's like you know raising a kid up and having them follow in your footsteps and that sort of thing. I
Exactly.
guess
Yeah.
has maybe that feeling for you. Um,
And
so
even teaching at Recteq, we've had, we typically have 25 to 35 students over there for each academy,
mhm,
and nobody over there is in it for the competition. But after we
yeah,
do the competition class at academy, it's amazing how many that we've had jump into the sport and start cooking. And even had one of our students from Colorado. And then she came back and cooked with me one time, and last year she got her first GC.
yeah. So it's more of the legacy of the barbecue for you.
It is. It's a lot of it.
We got a little feedback.
Well, my earphones just died for some reason. Hold on a second.
All right,
See if I can get it back.
all right. And see, this is why we do it live. Is I spit
Exactly.
and spun, and this is I spit and sputter and lose my train of thought, and then sometimes earphones die in the middle of it, and I pick up a little feedback, and fortunately, I picked it up early enough to where I didn't ruin my podcast. Um, Thank you for everybody that is turning in. It has been a couple of weeks since we've been shooting it live. We've actually not released in 3 weeks. Had a vacation week and then had a hurricane recovery week and adjustment getting back to life here. And now tomorrow we'll have our episodes back up and running. We're shooting I think 3 or 4 podcasts today. Um, so that is exciting for me, getting back in the saddle and back doing the podcasts. And I think we've got Cary
I am.
back.
I am back. I went old school to the wired headphones.
Hey, those can't die.
That's right.
Yeah, I had. I don't know if you see my plug-in here. I had my earbuds plugged in. I was plugging them in and just double checking everything. And I've got 3 sets here that I can run through. So hopefully by episode 4 that I shoot today, I'll still have a little bit of juice left in them because I'm going
Right.
from one to the next. But so you're cooking at Recteq, you're cooking, on the road, 18, 20, 15, ever how many events every year, and you're teaching. Um, is that kind of was that the goal when you started, is to get to the point you know, to be looked at as a high level professional? Because there's a lot of professional barbecue guys out there that have, you know, banners instead of trophies and are doing classes. Was it more of, let me get to this level so that I can teach, or what was your thoughts with that?
No, that's just something that's developed over time. Uh, I just did it for the love of the sport and competing. As you get older, and none of the barbecue guys are small, and I call myself a barbecue medium because I'm one of the smaller guys in barbecue. But
Hey,
the I just enjoy the camaraderie, and you sit around. We go to most of our contests. We'll load in on Thursday, and Thursday night we go to dinner. We sit around a fire ring somewhere and just shoot the bull and compare notes and talk about different things. And Friday, you kind of get down to business. And most times with KCBS, we have all of our stuff trimmed, so Friday's pretty relaxed. But
yeah, you froze up on me again
Friday,
there. Boy, my editor is gonna love this episode. You
hit it
there?
on. Yeah, I am. And then we get up and get started about 4 o'clock Saturday morning, and get with it.
Yeah.
And then we'll get through the cook, and Saturday afternoon we'll kind of clean up and get everything done. And I'll either head out right after awards to come home, or if Melissa's with me, then we'll usually stay Saturday night and come home on Sunday.
Hmm. So it's a full weekend. I mean, you're looking at Thursday, Friday, Saturday, sometimes Sunday. I mean, that's half your week.
Yeah, and then I
Um,
come get home on Monday, and the first thing I do is go to the local food depot to get my Springer Mountain chicken and kale, and restock the trailer and start trimming meat again.
yeah, yeah, I can certainly see how that. I mean, you're looking at day five at that point in barbecue, and most folks are working 4 or 5 days a week anyway. So I can certainly see how it could be viewed as a job. Um, I, I don't know that I would classify it as a 9 to 5 type job, but a job
No.
nonetheless.
Mm-hmm. Uh, it's I've got some friends on the circuit. Pig and Whiskey is one. They stayed gone for 16 weeks, and they just went home for a week, and then they're back on the road, and they cooked the jack this weekend, and now they're gone to New Jersey to go cook a double,
Oh wow,
and then they'll be back out in Arkansas to cook another double to finish up the year.
yeah.
So
I guess that's part of chasing it. Sometimes you spend a couple of days on the road.
yeah, I put 56,000 miles on my truck last year.
Whew, Lord. I sell trucks,
I
so
know.
we'll talk afterwards. Um,
I am almost getting to that point. I'm at 191,000 already.
yeah, yeah, we're inching closer and closer. Um, so let's go back a little bit. You went into the KCBS more for uh, more contests and more recognition and the ability to attract more sponsors because of the worldwide presence of KCBS. Um, Walk me through who your sponsors are and maybe some of the reasons that you went with those sponsors or you asked for those sponsors.
Well, that's the amazing thing. The people that I have partnerships with, I never went out and applied for.
Hmm.
Uh, Almost all of mine approached me, and that says a lot to me that they wanted me to be their brand ambassador. Uh,
Hmm.
my very first one was Heath Riles, back when he was Victory Lane before he went out on
Yeah.
his own. And then when he
Yeah.
broke off and went to Heath Riles Barbecue, I was his very first team he sponsored. And
Really.
yeah, and that's a friendship and partnership that goes back from nearly when I started. Um, he was one of the first classes I took, and he doesn't hardly give classes anymore. Uh,
Yeah.
and we cooked beside each other at the Pig Jig down in Vienna, and all my racks were my
came from him came out of his trash pile because he wouldn't bother to wash them. He'd just throw them away. He'd use them one time and throw them away. But yeah, so Heath has been a great mentor and I have a great friendship with him. Matter of fact, the trailer that I cook out of now is one of his trailers, and I rode around for 6 months advertising Heath Ryle's barbecue before I rewrapped it with Hold Your Horses.
Yeah.
Recteq Grills was probably my second one. And the first weekend I cooked on one, I won chicken down in Florida out of 52 teams. And so I have always cooked chicken on Recteq ever since.
Yeah, and everybody knows how much you love cooking chicken.
Oh, I do. It was a problem child for a long time, but we got it figured out.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Kevin Green at the butcher shop in Pensacola, Florida. I cannot say enough about the meats that he sends me. Some of the most beautiful A9 briskets you have ever seen. Just absolutely gorgeous pieces of beef. And I get all my pork collars from him. And I've had some difficulties through the years with some personal things, and he has been there for me as a sounding board and as a great friend.
Yeah.
So, and that's just the stuff that develops over time. The sharpening guy down in Florida keeps all my knives wicked sharp. Jealous Devil charcoal that keeps my pits fueled. Outlaw barbecue smokers now. I mean, that's just and I have cooked total contest on Recteqs. My problem when I was doing that, you can produce great product, and I've even won a GC and an RGC on cooking straight Recteqs. My problem is they're so easy to cook on that I get out visiting and talking and running my mouth, being a social butterfly, that I miss my marks and I don't have to stay on the cook trailer.
So it makes it too easy.
Almost.
Nice.
I have trouble paying enough attention to force myself to stay on the trailer to hit my marks with them.
Yeah. Well, and I mean that's part of it is the timeline and all that that fun stuff is getting all that dialed in. Yeah, I always loved when I got to visit competition stuff before I had my part-time job selling cars. Um, working part-time hours over there. I've not quite the time to devote to barbecue, hence the podcast. Keep me in a barbecue at least a little bit outside of what I do here at the house, but I always used to love going into different cook trailers and different teams, friends of mine, and seeing their little timelines. And I mean, like some of these guys are down to the minute, down to how long they're resting it and just the technical stuff that goes into competition barbecue.
Well, with competition barbecue, Cambro management is a huge item because you can let stuff overcook if you don't know how to manage your Cambro. And it's a big part of it. And we get a process down that works, and you try to make everything repeatable. So you try to do the same thing week in and week out and make notes. And I even keep track of the elevation that I'm cooking at that week because that affects how things cook.
Yeah. So, I mean, are you going to write a book with all this, or is this just personal knowledge that you'll pass on in classes? Where does Hold Your Horses eventually hang? When you hang it up and you're like done cooking competition barbecue, what do you think your legacy will be?
I'm not sure. I haven't really figured out my end game yet. I have one rub that's my beef rub that I've been in talks about producing because it's been so tried and true over the years. But I really hate to hate to put something in the market to compete with the people that have supported me all along. So, I may do some of that later on, but I don't want to get into the restaurant business like a lot of guys do in barbecue. That is just not my calling in life.
Yeah.
I think I'll probably just fade off into the sunset and work on my farm and raise my cows and support my wife showing her horses and teach some classes.
Yeah. Well, you got a pretty place out there to do it for sure. And I can imagine you probably don't want to put a beef rub out with it since you got a beef rub uh, producer that's helped you on the competition trail for quite some time, I'm sure.
Well, that's true, and but he's the one pushing me to make it as to add to his line.
Oh,
because I helped develop the comp rub. Because that's the same stuff that I was blending for 3 years that I cooked with that came out as comp rub.
So you've got some more experience than you let on then, yeah.
A little bit.
A little bit, just a little bit, just helping with two of the rubs. That's all.
But it's just fun and I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I've cooked on some of the biggest stages in the world. The American Royal, Memphis in May, Houston Livestock Rodeo. We even finaled in brisket out there a couple of years ago. And when you can do that with cooking brisket against all the Texas boys out of 320 teams, that feels pretty good.
Yeah, I can imagine so. And I can testify for the brisket because I've had it and it's awesome stuff. Um, I need to come and like steal more food from you than I do, honestly. Now come to think of it.
Well, the girls at our local Waffle House get a lot of leftovers.
Well, you got to find somewhere for it, and we eat barbecue over here.
Okay.
Uh, so I'm going to table it from here. We're just kind of touching on the barbecue lifestyle and kind of what's got you into the barbecue lifestyle and where you're going with the Hold Your Horses team. And I appreciate you hanging out with me, just chit chatting some commercial or not some commercial. I'm gonna have a field day editing this. Some competition barbecue. Um, I don't do a whole lot of competition barbecue chatting with anybody anymore. And it's nice to get back into the swing of things, chatting with competition barbecue guys, man. Um, and let me go back. I'm gonna have to put this in there. You were talking about, you're not wanting to be in the restaurant business, right? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is just not my cup of tea. I have thought about running a food truck because I've got my other trailer that is a vending trailer, but this area makes it so difficult to run a food truck that it's just not hardly worth it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, competition. I mean, not competition, but maybe catering might be a little easier to stomach. But I was just thinking about you being on the road for 40 something weeks out of 50, having a run similar to the Clark run. Before Travis Clark got into the restaurant business, he was on the road like 40 something weeks a year, and I think he did that for a couple of years before.
He did.
So it's definitely a way to get your feet wet in the barbecue world. But
well, it's a way to build your brand, and you can transfer it into that. Some good friends, Gary and Dion Lanton, they did that with Holy Smokes. They competed in GBA and some KCBS, and then they started with the food truck, and now they have a brick and mortar that's very successful. And yesterday they just announced they're taking over a breakfast restaurant. So
Oh,
there in Dublin.
You must have read my show notes. I was picking
No.
note. I was circling back to go through there because I talked to Gary a couple of days back, and he's in my schedule upcoming,
Right.
and was going to touch on that. But I appreciate you touching on that for me.
And another one that I'm really close with is Matt Sapp that has Dexter Meats in Dublin,
Yeah,
Georgia, down at Dexter, Georgia.
yeah,
He's done the same thing, and I really worried about him going down in Dexter where he was located. But man, he has developed into
yeah,
a booming business with that.
yeah,
And I could see myself opening a butcher shop because I love
yeah,
cutting meat.
yeah. Well, I mean,
And,
I guess you got
and
plenty of
this
practice with the
area
trimming.
could use one.
Yeah, well, you and I both know of a local spot that's Cooks. I mean, like you could go in and revitalize Cooks because I just feel like Cooks is on the verge of shutting the doors every time I go in there. It's like,
Yeah.
eh. So, but if you open a butcher shop, let me know. I'll be first in line, man.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Guys, we will put this week's episode in the books. Shout out to my guest, Cary Chasteen of Hold Your Horses Barbecue. Guys, if you've enjoyed this week's episode, leave us a review, a like, a share, and as always, keep smoking. Appreciate